And she quotes Virginia Woolf by saying, "There is no gate, no lock, no bolts that can set upon the freedom of my mind." It makes me wonder what she would say nowadays with the advent of the internet and the smartphone, because unfortunately, a lot of the new technology that we have nowadays, including the technology that you're using to listen to this podcast, I'm being very honest about this, is kind of like a gate, a lock, and a bolt that can set upon the freedom of your mind. Now, I certainly don't want you to think of this podcast as part of that problem, because your mind is entirely your own. I don't do this podcast to convince people to think a certain way about the kinds of children's shows that I enjoy. The reason I do this podcast, and I'll say this again in the intermission, the reason I do this podcast is to help you guys make decisions about what kind of shows you should let your children watch, or maybe not watch. Like, I'm just here to offer suggestions. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You understand what I'm saying? Some people think that the internet has all the answers and they should just do whatever people on social media or whatever say is best. But what's even better is to just use your own mind and try to think for yourself and make smart decisions about life. It's like what Fred Rogers always said, your own mind is far better than any computer. I guess maybe what Virginia Woolf would say nowadays is that the internet doesn't have to be a gate, a lock, or a bolt that can set upon the freedom of your mind, as long as you don't let it destroy the freedom of your mind. That's an interesting thing to keep in mind. But now let's put this into the context of this particular episode. Harriet is in a timeout, which is supposed to take place in her own room, not Old Golly's room. And Old Golly is saying that, what did she say exactly? Let me listen to this again. Yeah, being sent to one's room is good for creativity. Of course, Harriet would view a situation like being sent to a room as boring, of course. But if you ask me, boredom has been given a bad name. Lots of people over the years, children especially, always thought that boredom is a bad thing. As I've gotten older, I've come to realize that that is not true. Being bored is actually good for you, because if you take some time alone, like in complete stillness and silence, no screens, no noise, nothing like that, it gives your brain a chance to decompress, and it gives you time to think. And lots of people have come up with brilliant ideas for new inventions and new ways to do things because they allow themselves some time to be bored. I think that's why Old Golly is saying that being sent to one's room is great for creativity. Because, going to your room is not entirely bad. I assume Harriet's got books in her room and maybe a few toys and a place where she can write in her notebook. So she can come up with lots of good ideas there if she would just acknowledge the fact that being in her room in a potentially boring time shouldn't be looked upon as a bad thing. And it turns out that Harriet would rather hang out in her room than listen to Old Golly's quotes. She doesn't want to hear any old-timey quotes by Virginia Woolf or anybody. Old Golly's quotes are kind of a running gag, not only in the show but in the books as well. I'll go over a few of them later on as we compare this episode to the book. And then we have an abrupt cut to, I guess, nighttime, because it's all dark in Harriet's room now, and she's angrily getting into bed and kind of wrapping herself all up in the covers.